Hot on young, run free, a little bit better than it used to be, 'cause I'm alive. What's happening, mediocre people of YouTube? So today, I was going to do my video, and the first video about being in a band and how to go about that and how to manage your stuff. But, as you guys probably know, Netflix released Motley Crue, The Dirt, today. And when I woke up this morning, I checked Netflix, and sure enough, there it was. So did what I had to do, get the kids off to school, all that good stuff, and came back and watched The Dirt. Long-awaited movie, and everything you would expect it to be. I thought it was great. I thought it could have been longer. I thought that it should have been longer, because I think a lot of people would have enjoyed that. But, you know, they do what they're going to do, so they made it, I think it's about just under 2 hours. I would have been up for like a 3-hour movie about that. As you guys know, the book, The Dirt, came out, excuse me, quite a while ago. And I don't remember if it was The Dirt and then Nikki Sixx did the Heroin Diaries. I'll share this with you. When the Heroin Diaries, when I read it, that was at a time when I was, when I had decided that I didn't want alcohol to be a part of my life anymore. And, it just, I just woke up one day and it was just like, God, you know, it's just ridiculous. You know, it's, I don't know, when you convince yourself that other people, that's what everybody drinks every day, you know. And that's when you know you're fucked, you know. And so I quit booze cold turkey. I just said, screw it, I'm done with this. I don't want to live like this, you know. I'm afraid that I'm going to do some damage. I went to the doctor, got myself checked out, and everything came back well, liver and kidneys and all that, which I was worried about. And I gave it up. So when I read the Heroin Diaries, I do remember there being passages in that book that I had to finish before I went to sleep, because it was almost like reliving the kind of thing that I was going through with alcohol in my life. And it was like there was just shit that I needed to finish, or otherwise I wouldn't be able to sleep, because it was like, you know, you have these traumatic memories of things, and I'm not talking about, you know, hurting other people. I never hurt anybody with my abuse, but really myself, you know, which Nikki Sixx expresses in his book about being on heroin all those years. Addiction's a son of a bitch, man. I'm not going to get too far into that, because I could make video after video about addiction. Just know, if any of you guys out there that follow this channel are having trouble with addiction or anything, you want to talk to somebody that shares the same disease, and you want to get off that shit or whatever, I'm here. I'm more than willing to talk to you about it. You don't need to take that shit, whatever that shit may be, whether it's alcohol or drugs or whatever. There's another way to live, and that's what I'm going to say about that. So, watching The Dirt was, you know, and I'll go through this one more time. You know, when I was 5 years old, the first rock record I listened to was Kiss, Dressed to Kill. Absolutely listened to that thing every single day, over and over and over. Still know all the lyrics to that album to this day. My brother didn't make this one short, because I know I've talked about this in other videos. My brother turned me on to Black Sabbath, instantly hooked, and by that time Ozzy was on his own. This is like 1980. Ozzy's on his own, and instantly Randy Rhoads fan. And, you know, then of course Motley Crue, and my very first concert was Ozzy Osbourne and Motley Crue. I want to say it was 1986 at Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, Michigan. And just, that definitely shaped my life, part of my life. You know, definitely seeing my first live show, and that being my first live show, man, it's like when you see that as your first live show, everything after that is kind of like not bad, you know. But you never really get back that first massive rock show, Motley Crue and Ozzy Osbourne. Although I've seen some Ozzy shows that have been right up there. But yeah, Motley Crue, man, a huge, huge, huge part of my life. I remember being in elementary school and all the kids, Michael Jackson was the thing. Everybody, all the kids loved Michael Jackson, right? Not me. No, I was saying things like, that guy's a fag, you know. Was not into Michael Jackson whatsoever. I was into Sabbath and Motley Crue and Ozzy Osbourne, you know. And I can remember getting beat up, you know, because, you know, for not liking Michael Jackson and whatnot. So, but there was always, you know, there's always a few kids that, you know, were on our team, you know. You had like one or two kids that were, you know, into Motley Crue and but yeah, that sparked off the 80s. That it was just, man, I'll tell you what, back then it was just, David Lee Roth once said that, you know, everything about the 1980s smiled, you know, the music smiled, everybody was just having a blast, you know, and that's really where it was at. My brother, being a few years older than me, was in bands before I started fooling with music. And of course, you know, going to see his shows and all that kind of stuff, and it just got me primed for, you know, what I wanted. But it was funny because I was experiencing a lot of those things at a much younger age. So when I actually came of age, where I was playing, you know, in bands with, you know, with other people, I'd kind of already experienced a lot of that, you know, especially being the cute little brother of the lead singer of this band and stuff. There was a lot of perks that went along with that, you know, and a lot of experiences that probably not appropriate for a kid of my age, but nonetheless, I wouldn't take it back for anything. I absolutely had a blast in the 80s. And yeah, Motley Crue was a huge, huge, huge part of it. You know, when I got into high school, you know, that brought me through elementary school, middle school, and then when I got into high school, that was right around the time Metallica had released And Justice for All, which most of the Metallica fans that I knew, we all kind of thought Justice for All was kind of weak. So when they released the Black Album, it was like, alright, this really kind of sucks, you know. But nonetheless, the Black Album was, I think, their biggest album to date, and everybody was all of a sudden a Metallica fan. And it was funny because, you know, we had kids that once used to, you know, call us a bunch of burnouts and everything else because we listened to heavy metal. Now all of a sudden they were like, hey dude, what's up, you know. And it was like, and I remember selling them catnip and things like that we used to do, and it was great and it was fun. You know, it was a fun time. So, but yeah, just wanted to talk a little bit about the movie The Dirt. It was, to me, it was great. It was well represented. Like I said, I guess my biggest disappointment with the movie is that it wasn't longer and they didn't stretch it out. Some of those stories, they crammed some of the true stories. They crammed into, you know. I'm guessing, you know, I'm guessing if Motley Crue really wanted to tell the story they wanted to tell, I mean, it would have taken probably 8 hours, and maybe, you know, that's what it should have been, is like a series, you know, of movies for Netflix. I think it's a shame they didn't do that because I would have enjoyed that. But nonetheless, it's finally out. They've been talking about this movie forever, and they decided to release it on Netflix. So I'm guessing that Netflix came up with the largest dollar amount for Motley Crue, and that's where it's at. But yeah. Very, very, very cool movie, especially if those of you who were not born yet or are a little too young to have experienced that kind of stuff. It really does represent what heavy metal was and what the whole vibe was back then, you know, before grunge music came in, before Nirvana, before Pearl Jam. you know, the thing that is I talk about this kind of stuff with people all the time. You know, when Nirvana and Pearl Jam came out, I mean, all of us guys that were into metal, we were kind of against that stuff. Soundgarden was a little bit more unique, but we were kind of against that stuff, you know. We weren't into it. It was just like, why is this music so depressing? You know, I mean, Motley Crue and Ozzy, I mean, their music was all about having fun, you know, and then all of a sudden it was like, you had this music that everybody got into. It changed music forever when Nirvana and Pearl Jam came on the scene. But it was, to us, it was just like, God, man, it's like, this is like suicide music or something. You know, it was like, we didn't, you know, there was a part of me that, you know, it was like, yeah, it's cool. It wasn't, don't get me wrong, because it was a really great time in music, because it was one of those times where there was a massive change. And those don't come along too often. Pretty much hasn't come along since then. And you can kind of look back in the history of rock and roll, where you know, going back to Elvis Presley, and then the 60s, and then the 70s, and like pretty much every decade, music had a major change. And then you had the 1980s with the hair bands and everything else, into the 1990s with the grunge scene, and then to date, from now, you know, back to 1991 or 92, where those guys came out, you haven't really had anything new. In fact, I mean, it's gotten, and I know I used to hear people say this, the older people say this when I was coming up, that it's terrible. But music today, with all of the auto-tune and the fake drums and the fake this and the fake that, it's all the same. I mean, to me, it really, it sucks, man. It really does. I'm still, you know, in my music, I'm still all about, even when I record, I don't record, everybody should be in a room, and you capture the best performance of each song. Okay? And there's certain things that you do, like vocals and stuff, that you might isolate, you know, but yeah, when you know, playing music is what you're doing. When you record your music, that's what you're doing. You're recording it, you're capturing the best live performance of that particular song. And that's just not the way it's being done nowadays, you know. I don't know, it just gets so the same, you know. I mean, the country music today, all music today, I mean, it just kind of all sounds the same. Basically like it was produced on somebody's laptop, which in most cases it was, you know. So yeah, I'm just kind of, you know, there was a time when I was getting, you know, I was making the effort to get more into all the digital stuff and the recording and all that. And really in the last 6 or 8 months, when I started on this album, I decided to let that go and just say, you know, I am what I am, and that's what I'm going to produce, and I'm just going to, you know, I'm not going to try to do this by myself. I'm going to, you know, when I'm ready to record these songs, I'm going to have somebody, I'm going to pay somebody to, you know, sit on the other side of the wall, run the board, and do all that stuff. I'm not going to be cheap about this, you know. It needs to be real to me, you know. In order to be proud of it, it needs to be real, you know. And missing out on those experiences where, you know, you're with 5 guys in a band, you know, there's a lot of camaraderie and experience, and that comes along with that. And there's a lot to be proud of that I think a lot of people are missing out on by, you know, just having one person. Here you are recording these albums, and then you record these albums and you release them to YouTube, and you release them to iTunes, and you wonder why nobody's buying it and nobody wants to listen to it. It's because it's just more shit. You're just putting more shit out there for someone to listen to, you know, and they don't want to hear it. It sounds no different than the other shit that they're already listening to. So, you know, keep that in mind. If you're, you know, if you're a musician and you're looking to do that kind of, keep it in mind that, you know, it's a team effort, you know. So I don't even know where that all came from, but it is very true, and I stand by what I said. So with that being said, I'm going to give Motley Crue 2 thumbs up and 2 fucking middle fingers, and I'm gonna say happy Friday, bitches, and go watch you some Motley Crue, The Dirt. Awesome movie. Peace out.